Welcome to the 6 Miles to Supper podcast. I'm your host, Kayla Cox, and I've lost over 80 pounds with intermittent fasting 6 days a week, eating whatever I wanted at my meals, taking a cheat day every Sunday, and walking 6 miles a day. And I'm here to help you on your weight loss journey. On this episode, we're going to talk about all the things I've been up to since I've been on hiatus from this podcast. First of all, I would like to say, I'm sorry, I forgot to update you and let you know that I was on hiatus from this podcast. I realized it today as I was going through the last podcast that I recorded. I re-listened to it because I thought, surely I said, I'm going on hiatus, but I didn't do that. So if you are not subscribed to my newsletter and you don't watch my YouTube, you might have been wondering where I was. And by the way, if you'd like to subscribe to my newsletter, or if you're interested in any of the things that I'm going to be talking about, you can find the links in the show notes for this episode. The newsletter is really the best way to kind of keep up with what I'm doing, because there are so many different places where I'm active that it's easy for me to forget to update one. So in mid-September, I started looking around at my life and looking at, how things went this past year, and kind of thinking about what kind of direction I wanted to head in 2024. And I realized I had all these projects that were sitting there unfinished, things I had been working on, but had never really, got them to the finish line. And so I thought, I really want to finish these things by the end of the year. I knew that I couldn't continue doing the same schedule I had been doing and still try to finish these things. I had already tried that and it had not worked. And that's the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So I decided to go on a modified media fast. So if you've never read the excellent book by Julia Cameron called The Artist's Way, you may not know what a media fast is, but a media fast is basically taking a break from consuming other people's creativity. Now, she recommends a 7-day strict media fast, meaning for 7 days straight, you don't read anything written by anyone else. You don't listen to music. You don't consume anybody else's creativity. And it's a very great exercise. I highly recommend it to anybody. But I knew that kind of strict fasting wasn't going to be sustainable for the amount of time that I guessed that this was going to take. Now, I was a little bit wrong in how long I thought this media fast would go on. I thought really I would be done maybe, after a month. And then after I kind of got into it, I thought, well, maybe it'll be more like Halloween. As it turned out, it was mid-November before I was finished. And quite frankly, I'm still trying to get caught up and really restarted back on those things that I wanted to do. For example, this is the first podcast episode I've created since the media fast was over. So what was I doing on the media fast? How did I do it? And why did I do it? So the way I decided to modify a fast, which is very much like how I modify regular fasting for weight loss purposes. For me, I was thinking about long term. Okay, I think this is going to happen for at least a month. It may be longer. So what can I really stick with? Because sticking with it was a lot more important to me than, having super strict rules and trying to be a perfectionist. So I decided for myself that Monday through Saturday, I was not going to consume other people's creativity, just in general. That meant no reading except for the Bible and the Philokalia. I didn't allow myself to listen to any podcasts or watch any YouTube videos or watch any kind of TV or anything like that. The only exceptions to that were on date night and on sleep on the couch night, which is the family movie night we have on Saturday nights. At that point, I would, watch a movie with them. And then on Sunday, I wouldn't seek out creativity from other people, but if it happened to be on, I would watch it. So for example, if my husband flipped on the TV on Sunday, I would sit there and watch it with him because it was important to me to spend time with him and not to just leave the room because he wanted to watch TV. And I also went on hiatus from creating new topical videos for YouTube and for creating podcasts for this podcast. So I did continue to do my weekly lives for my YouTube members on Wednesdays at noon. And I do one also just for the general YouTube public on Fridays at noon. And so I did those. I continued to do those, and I continued to do the vlog for members also. But I didn't create other types of topical videos because, the vlogs are unedited and so are the lives. Like a live, I just sit down, do the thing, and then I'm done. Same with a vlog. I just record it. I don't edit. And then I just, pop it on YouTube. But when I do a topical video, that's like a lot more work. Like I have to rehearse it. I have to outline it. I have to be, I have to go through it a lot. And then I record it and then I edit it. And then, it's just this whole big long process. So I knew that I could continue to do those things, but that if I tried to do the topical videos and things like that, I would just not get done with these other projects. So those were my rules. So I did this because I knew that if I did not create this kind of set of rules for myself, I would just never finish these projects. And these projects were important to me for various reasons. So let's talk about the projects I did and what that looked like. So the first project was finishing the laid back guide to weight loss maintenance. This was a book that I actually started in May of 2019. So 4.5 years ago. So I had just written the laid back guide to intermittent fasting, and a very kind reader reached out and they had really enjoyed the book. And they said, the next book you should write is a book on maintenance, because nobody writes books about maintenance, and so I think that's what you should write next. And I thought that's a really great idea, but I was totally intimidated by the idea of writing a book about maintenance. And also I felt like I needed more experience with maintenance. I felt very confident about weight loss itself with intermittent fasting. But I felt like, I need to experience more of the maintenance, because maintenance is where I always have failed. Now, at that point, I had maintained my initial 65-pound loss. I had done that for a year before I lost more weight. But then, there was that year where I was losing more weight, and I kind of felt like that didn't quite count as maintenance, because when you're actively trying to lose weight, that's a different process than just trying to maintain your weight loss. So I thought, I want to maintain for a while longer before I really work on this book. So instead, I wrote another book called Overcoming Weight Loss Obstacles. And then I thought I'll just put the maintenance book on the back burner. And so then I went back to it after a while. I finally thought, I feel like I could start writing this book again. But I just kept working on it. And then I had got it earlier this year into kind of draft format. Like I felt like the format was basically where I wanted it to be. But the way I write a book is basically sometimes I outline, but then I kind of write the first draft, and then I'll let it sit for a while, and then I'll reread it, and then I'll do a second draft, and then more and more and more drafts until I finally get it to where I want it to be. And then at that point, I will read it out loud over and over and over and over again until I feel like it's exactly what I want to say, or at least it's said in the best way I know how to say it. And then I'll do all the other parts of publishing it, which is, for me, because it's self-published, I then need to do the cover art and then put the thing out on KDP, and which is Amazon's publishing platform. And so, and also it is currently available on Amazon, and then later on, I'm going to have it on other platforms as well. After I finished the maintenance book, I went on to my next project, which was to redo the Overcoming Weight Loss Obstacles book cover. When I first put it out, it was just a text-based cover, and it was just what I could do at the time. I really wanted to get the book out there, and so I sent it out there with a text-based cover. But over time, I just had this idea of something that I wanted to put on the cover, and it was kind of intimidating because I knew I wanted to draw it, and I wanted to relay the message, and I had the idea that I would make it look like Sisyphus, pushing the boulder up the hill. And so I started sketching it out, and I had been working on this, just in my head for a long time. But I never could quite make myself sit down and actually do the work. So that was the next task I did, was I sat down and I worked on that. And I had no excuse, because it wasn't like, well, I need to make another video or I need to make another podcast. I just need to focus on this. So I did. And I'm happy with the final result. So I updated the cover. And so the updated cover is now on Amazon. So if you're interested in looking at it, you can see it on there. Sisyphus is a character in Greek mythology, and he had this punishment of pushing a boulder up a hill. And just when he would get it to the top of the hill, it would roll back down. And so this has come to describe, basically any kind of task where it feels like you accomplish it and then it just kind of falls apart and you got to do it over again, which is what weight loss felt like to me until I found intermittent fasting. So I thought, oh, that's kind of these obstacles. It feels sometimes like a Sisyphean task. And so that's why I did the cover the way I did it. Except for the weight loss journey, unlike Sisyphus's story, can have a happy ending. You can get that boulder to the top of the hill and it doesn't have to roll back down. The next project was to finish book 2 in my Forgotten Portal young adult series. And so I had written a book called Escape from Olszek's Castle several years ago. And I actually started writing book 2 right away, even before book 1 was out. But I just worked on it. And then, several things kind of happened in my life that kind of interrupted my progress on it. But I finally got back to it. And, but again, it was one of those things that it was just sitting there, kind of in this state of, it just needed more attention. I needed to just put all of my attention on that thing. So that's what I did. I worked on it and worked on it and worked on it. Same kind of process as I used for my nonfiction books, reading it over and over and over again, having other people read it, tell me what they think, especially my kids. And once I got the manuscript finished, then it was a process of, doing the cover and then putting it out there for the world. And so then when I was finished with that, I went on to work on the intermittent fasting workbook. Now, this was one of those projects I thought, oh, this is going to take like a day. And it taught me again that I'm really terrible at estimating the amount of work that needs to go into something because I had this workbook as a companion to the intermittent fasting for weight loss course that I have on Teachable. So the workbook, as it was on the course, was basically just a compilation of all the worksheets that went along with the course. So, you watch a video and then I would tell you, okay, now fill out this worksheet. And then you would, fill out the worksheet. And so my thought was, well, that general process would be really helpful for people. Not everybody maybe wants to buy the course, but some people maybe just want the workbook. So my thought was, well, I can just take that workbook and kind of just, create a little bit of explanation and then just put the workbook out there. But then as I got into the project, I realized, well, no, you really need to give context and it needs to kind of stand on its own. And so after a while of working on it, I realized this is just a really big project. So the further I got into the project, the more I realized that it was a really good thing because it helped me to see that I needed to tweak the course a little bit. Now, when I look at the course as it is right now, I really like it. I think it's helpful. I know that it's helpful because people have told me, that they've gone through it and that it has helped them. But through the process of making this workbook and tweaking it, I broke down the process of weight loss even further into 5 distinct phases. And I did this because I wanted to base it on what I have learned in my own journey, and also what I see other people kind of getting stuck on. And so before I had 3 phases. Basically, the first phase was write your plan, start testing things out. Phase 2 is going through just the process of losing weight. And phase 3 was maintenance. So I ended up breaking it down a little bit further. So the first phase is preparation. It's about getting your mindset in the right place, about doing a little bit of work on the front end, about, getting your motivations in place so that when you do kind of struggle in the later parts of the journey, you won't quit. And the second phase is about learning how to fast. The third phase is figuring out your plan, experimenting with things, getting that plan in place. Fourth phase is the actual process of losing weight. And the fifth phase is maintenance. So the workbook takes you through that process. And if you'd like to buy the workbook, you can do so in the link in the show notes. But if you have ever purchased a course from me in the past, or you are a past coaching client, then you can get the workbook for free. The way to get it is to log into the course that you purchased. So, and it doesn't matter. It can be any of the courses that I've made. Just log into the course and you should be able to just download the workbook from the intermittent fasting workbook module. If you are a past coaching client, please just email me and I will email you the PDF. So there is a challenge that comes up with something like a workbook for some people. What happens is, you hear about a workbook, it's like, yes, that's gonna be a great thing to do. And you'll buy the workbook. And then maybe you'll read the entire workbook, but then you never actually do the work in the workbook. That just happens to so many of us. There's so many books that I've picked up. And in the past, what I would do is I wouldn't do the exercises. I'd read this self-help book and I would just, I'd read the questions, but I wouldn't actually journal them out like they said to do. But what I learned on the weight loss journey was that if I actually did the exercises, that's when the change started to happen. It wasn't just from reading the book. It was from doing these, journal exercises, writing things out, really thinking these things through. So with that in mind, I'm going to try to solve that problem using the Discord server. This leads me to another announcement for all current or future or past students or coaching clients. I am giving you permanent access to the Discord server that I've set up. Now, I originally set this up because the insiders on my YouTube channel, those are people who are just paying a monthly subscription, they were asking for a place to get together and hold each other accountable. And so that's how the Discord server was born. And as I've started to use the Discord server, I've really liked the different features it has and what I've seen in there. And the Discord server is going to figure heavily into what I'm going to do in 2024. In order to get access to the Discord server, all you need to do is log into the course and then you'll see the instructions how to get access. Just be aware that it is a private server, so I need to manually approve everything. So just be aware of that. So just follow the instructions that I've given you in there and then you should be able to get access. So for those of you who don't know what Discord is basically just a place where you can chat with other people. And basically, if you can use Facebook, then you can use Discord. Like it doesn't require a bunch of skills or anything. It's going to look a little different than Facebook, of course, but the basics are the same. So don't be intimidated by that. So on the Discord server right now, we have an accountability channel. We also have places for people to share what they're doing during the fasting window to keep themselves busy. It's called Filling the Void. Also, the Discord server is where I hold office hours now. So if you have questions on the weight loss journey about, anything that you've dealt with in the course, or, just like if you're tracking and you're kind of like wanting a second opinion on what's going on, or if you're just kind of having trouble, you can drop into the office hours that I hold and we can chat about it. You can be on just in the chat, so you don't have to be on camera. You don't have to be on a microphone, or you can share your screen with me, or you can have your microphone on, or you can have your camera on. It's really up to you. And I'll post my availability within the Discord server. Also, on the Discord server, we are going to be doing a book club. So the first book that we're doing is Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And we're starting that now here in December. So if you're interested in participating in that, go ahead and join the Discord server. Now, like I mentioned, you can get access to the Discord server either by being an insider on YouTube or being a student inside Slow and Steady Success Academy. Or you can purchase a server subscription directly on Discord. And the Discord server is also a place where I'm going to be experimenting with some different types of offerings. For example, with this workbook in mind, I'm thinking, I know one of the things that's really hard to do is to carve out time for the weight loss journey, meaning it's hard to get yourself to sit down and, do a worksheet, but it's very helpful to do so. So I'm planning on doing what I call the work of weight loss blocks. The idea is based off of a thing I've seen other people doing called sprints. So basically, people do this with writing sprints or reading sprints. They'll basically get together. Some YouTubers do this where they'll actually just sit there with their microphone off and they'll write. So the idea is you kind of start out maybe the first 10 minutes or so. I would be hosting it, and I would take questions, or maybe we would discuss a topic for about 10 minutes, and then for the next 20 to 30 minutes, depending on what works best for the group, we would do a sprint, quote unquote. But really all it would mean is to do the work of weight loss. So for some people, that might be doing a worksheet. For other people, that might be sitting down with their weight tracking spreadsheet and looking at the trends and, updating it with notes and things like that. Or, sitting down with your plan and looking at, is it working? Should changes be made? Or it might be something else. But the idea is to carve out that time. And so I'm thinking about, offering these on a weekly basis. It's going to be experimental because I don't really know. It may not be something that people are interested in, or it may need to be tweaked, or something else might work better. But I have plenty of administrative tasks that I also need to make myself sit down and do. So my plan is to be doing that kind of work while other people are doing the other kind of work. And then after the sprint is over, after that 30 minutes is up, then we'll have about another 10 minutes to kind of talk about, anything that came up for us during that sprint. And then it's done. So that's kind of my idea. So just be on the lookout for that as well. So once I finished the workbook, then it was time for my last project, which was a painting for my daughter. Apparently, I had promised my daughter a painting, and it's really important to me to keep promises. It was a big lesson I learned on the weight loss journey that it is important to keep promises to yourself. It's important also to keep promises to other people. And on the weight loss journey, I realized, I'm pretty good about keeping promises to other people, but I am really not good at keeping promises to myself. Promises that I'm going to lose the weight, promises that I'm going to stick to a plan, that kind of thing. And I really learned the importance of doing that, of, when you say you're going to do something, then you need to do it, and of which also, if you start to do that, you start to become, more careful of about what you promise to do. And so my daughter brought this up to me that I had promised her a painting. She said, one day she just kind of randomly came up to me and she said, "When are you going to do that painting that you promised?" And I thought, what painting? I had completely forgotten that I had promised this. So she showed me the picture of this church that I had promised to paint for her, and so I got myself to sit down and actually do the work and to do the painting. And it took a while to do this. But it took many, many hours because I was not familiar at all really with the medium that I was using. I was using acrylic paint. I had done a couple of oil paintings before, just small little things. And this was a bigger canvas, and it was very intimidating, but I learned a lot. I loved the process. I highly recommend doing art, just creating things just for fun, just to do it. It's very relaxing. It's far superior to watching a movie or anything like that. And so I finished the project, and then with that project finished, I was finished with my media fast. And then I tried to get back into doing all those things that I had kind of gotten behind on. And so I've been slowly working my way back in. So as you can see, today is December 6th, and I am finally putting out a podcast episode. So doing a little quick math, that means it basically took me 3 weeks to kind of get back into the groove of publishing things. I've been doing things. I did put up a topical video on YouTube about intermittent fasting during the holidays. And I've also been continuing to do the vlog for insiders. I've been on the Discord server, and I've also just been, trying to get caught up on various things. I was interviewed by Justin Dorff for his YouTube channel, and so I've been busy creating things. It's just that this podcast has been kind of like the last thing for me to get back into. So going forward, my plan is to try to create consistently for the YouTube channel and for this podcast, but also I really enjoy, helping people on a more personal basis, getting to know the people, and on the Discord server, that's been really neat to be able to actually interact with people. It's been a difficult thing to do on YouTube itself, because the comment section in the public comment section, I just can't do it. I can't go in it, and keep my mental health, in the right place. But this Discord server has been good so far. I think because it is private and it's not just open to anyone who wants to come in and comment. It's just for people who really want to be there. So thank you guys for listening to this very long update, but I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one. Do you want to lose the weight without getting rid of the foods you love and that you'll go back to eating again anyway? My book, The Laid Back Guide to Intermittent Fasting, teaches you how to practice intermittent fasting so that you lose the weight sustainably and keep it off for good. You can get the audiobook read by me for free when you sign up for your 30-day trial of Audible. The link is in the show notes. And if you've gotten value from this podcast and you'd like to let other people know about it, it would be great if you could leave a review on either iTunes or wherever you get your podcast. Thanks.